Think about the very best person, the person who you think is the best on your team. If I were to interview every one of you individually and say, hey, what does this person do that makes them as good as they are at what they do? I bet you wouldn't talk about what school they went to, what class they just attended, book they just read, or whatever. I bet you'd be, I'd probably bringing to mind things like, this person's really focused. This person stays on track despite all distractions. This person, incredibly persistent. I put obstacles in front of them, they don't wilt. They actually seem to get stronger the bigger their obstacles. This person's just competitive. I give them scores, they can't help it, they compete, they're fired up to win, they're a bad loser, but I love that about them. This person's just empathetic. They just feel the emotions of people around them, pick them up, and then respond to them, make people feel comfortable sharing their emotions. You'd talk about stuff like that, wouldn't you? I mean, I'm making this up, but you think about the person in your head. I bet you'd talk about the person's recurring patterns of thought or feeling or behavior. That's what you'd talk about. Let that be our definition of talent. Why not? The problem with talents, of course, is they are person-specific. I can't give you mine. You can't give me yours. So in the end, what you got to do when you're selecting, don't try and use training to plug a talent gap. Do I have time for this? Yes. I was working with a hospital who tried to do this. They studied nurses, and they found out that some nurses gave less painful injections than others. And they talked to the nurses, and they found out that those nurses had empathy, right? The ones who gave painless injections somehow were able to share people's pain. And they thought, you know what? Because they didn't really understand about talent. They thought, I wonder what they're doing. I wonder what the trick is, the skill that these nurses are using to give painless injections so that when the patients rate the pain, they rate it lower than any other nurse. And they went out and they studied the nurses, and they thought they might discover that one was using a softer swab or a better needle or something. They did actually find, nothing to do with the swab, nothing to do with the rubbing of the arm or anything, but every nurse who really gave painless injections did all say the same thing to the patient right before they plunged the needle in. You know what they said? Yeah. Anyone had a good injection lately? Some of you have? Yeah. It's a question I never thought I would ask. They all say, this is going to hurt a little bit. I'll try and make it hurt as little as I can. Now, they don't use those exact words, but they absolutely convey that message. Look, this is going to hurt a wee bit. I'm going to try and make it hurt as little as I can. If you don't understand about talent, this is what you do. As a trainer, you go, ooh, a script. Let's take that script, and let's teach every nurse to say this is going to hurt a little bit. Now, you can see where I'm going with this. The problem is, if you teach that script to a nurse with no empathy, out of that person's mouth, this is going to hurt a little bit, comes out as a threat.